the Gansfield is one way to communicate, potentially.
Yeah.
Or to at least receive a vision of some sort.
Gordon! He's just gonna keep meowing.
Maybe Danish at the door or something.
Gordy!
Hey, bud.
Can we reset in a second? If I go and open that door and let him in? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey, you want to go see your mama? What's going on? What do you need?
What did you do? I'm not saying this is anything that might be worth noting at one point. When you were talking about Hellier, my ears started ringing. Which seems strange.
What happened?
While you were talking in the middle of the conversation.
Talking about Hellier?
About 5 minutes ago. You were like, just the town of Hellier. You were saying about how, goodness, it was about how it's uncomfortable when listening to this.
And your ears started
ringing. Yeah.
What do you think that means?
I don't know. I just played it off. I was like, this is okay. And then it faded away.
Maybe you can't wash the Hellier off.
No, I think you can.
Listen, I got the distinct impression something happened in that cave. We experienced something in that cave that will probably have a lingering effect. Oh, Jesus Christ. Now that we're talking about this, I wish Dana was still awake because fuck. Do you ever have that feeling this isn't deja vu, it's a dream. I had a dream one time, years ago, about having a conversation about being part of something that just the fact of being there was something that was going to occur and going to continue to occur. And it feels familiar. Like it's just one of those things that you normally wouldn't remember. Like you wake up as a dream. I'm going to have to ask her about it because just saying something happened. Something happened in that cave. And I haven't been able to shake the feeling that we don't know what that was yet. So like the fact that you're just hearing Hellier, hearing somebody talk about Hellier and your ears start ringing, it's odd.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. The more we research this thing and the more weird stuff happens with this thing, and the more we research the people who came before us who researched stuff like this, the more it seems pretty evident that now we're like in the shit. And that doesn't typically, like you don't get to just go, I'm done. It comes up and I realize that it sounds like, cosmic mumbo jumbo.
Yeah.
But there's a reason we were there. Anything that led to that case wasn't supposed to happen. Anything that led to that cavern, we were never supposed to be in that cavern.
Yeah.
Never. Had we just driven down to Hellier and been able to find a house that looked kind of like David's and get permission to go on the property and hang out at the cave, like, it would have been, who knows what would have happened. But all the series of events that led to us being in that place at that time are pretty strange.
Yeah.
Even the synchronicities that led Karl to go, we should go do this. We should go document this. That in and of itself, a random auto tweet from a 1700 plus archive of stories
I know.
as he's listening to the story of the goblins.
I mean, I don't. I was expecting to go down and make a documentary about this guy who saw goblins in his backyard. How strange that was.
But this is stranger.
I didn't expect all this. hung up at 4848.
What is happening?
If you told him
No.
if you told him that
Yeah.
right now, his head would explode.
We didn't even
He's
talk
so
about the
close.
spirit box thing. So
We didn't talk about a lot of stuff.
no, I mean,
it
but
only
it's
gets
hard.
fucking weirder than we ever told him.
And it's hard to explain that, in a phone call.
Yeah.
We've
But
got like 4 pages of synchronicities right now. You can't explain that in a phone call.
That is bizarre.
Well,
That's
see, it's
so
starting.
bizarre.
It's starting to get to the point now where it feels more like this. Yeah, synchronicity is yada yada. It feels more like teasing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like antagonizing.
And
Like it feels
antagonistic.
more like they're toying with us than we're being led somewhere now.
Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Like it's like
look
it's
at
showing
them.
off.
They're
It's-
at a brick wall.
it's
Well, here,
showing
let's
off.
do this.
Yeah.
Which is all Mothman prophecies too. They just started fucking around the whole way. Like you would
Right.
follow the leads and then just be fuckery there.
Mhm.
Inexplicable
That
fuckery.
is so strange.
my back's like my hair's standing up. Okay.
All right.
Well, let's call that guy. I'm gonna go to the bathroom and freak out for a second. I'm actually just gonna run back into it.
The synchronicities, my thoughts about synchronicities is that they are telling you you're moving in the right direction. They're telling you that something's happening and you're supposed to be paying attention to something that's happening. So the fact that there were all these synchronicities that even led to the fact that we went to Hellier in the first place and continued to ramp up as we were in Hellier was telling me we were onto something. Something was happening. It was just what part of that to pay attention to.
One of the weirder things about synchronicities was told to me by John Tenney, the researcher and good friend of mine, who was having his own experiences with kind of a goblin-like creature that he experienced up in Michigan in the winter. Now, it was actually the same weekend that I met Greg and Dana for the first time there at the Stanley Hotel that he told me about all these synchronicities that he was having related to this creature. And he illustrated it in a fascinating way where these synchronicities weren't just random mystical type occurrences or signposts. He actually called my attention towards the fact that they might be manifestations of the phenomena. The same way that a spirit can appear or speak or touch you on the shoulder, synchronicity might be a way that these goblin-like entities manifest to us. So in some ways it could be almost a way of communication. And that's what it felt like when we were there in Hellier in the thick of it all.
Jack, last name is Matney.
Hello?
Mr. Matney, my name's Connor. How are you?
Just fine?
Thank you. Thank you for speaking with us. We got your information from Joey. We're here in town. Specifically, we're up in Jenkins right now, but we're in the area, and we are looking into claims that we received of some three-toed footprints, and word is you've had a similar experience.
Well, I guess. Well, years ago, we used to go into the number, I don't know if you call it number 2 or number 3 cabin up there at Jenkins.
Okay.
And we used to go into this cave. Now, there's a track, and I could put my 2 fingers down in the track,
Yeah.
like a, I don't know if you would call it a turkey track or something.
So it's
But it was there. I could put my 2 fingers in that track, and my thumb would be back, sort of like a turkey track.
so
But
it's
it was way on down in the cabin too.
yeah, and so it's fairly is it fairly small? How many inches across would you say it was?
Just it's about the size of my 2 fingers on my hand.
Okay.
I laid it down in there,
Right.
and I don't know. One of them claimed they sent it off, and it was some kind of prehistoric bird or something. You know, it might have been a lizard track, but it was down in there.
So we call Jack. Jack's a very friendly old man who has lived in the area his entire life.
And he described the footprint. It was a little bit different than the footprints that we had.
He described the three-toed footprint almost as a bird print. So if you put your fingers out like this, it kind of spread out to the back.
Not quite the three-toed footprint that we had photos of. It was different. But still, a mysterious, shouldn't be there three-toed footprint.
But it was still strange. I mean, the fact that it was a prehistoric bird or lizard or something was pretty odd. And then he started to launch into other strange stories.
As we're talking with Jack, we initially say, hey, have you seen anything strange in this area? And he sort of, passes it off. Oh, no, not really.
Anything along those lines, like, the one thing that keeps coming up all the time are Native American artifacts and Native American spirits and curses. Even
I've heard some good tales on things. I've not been with them to experience them.
have you ever heard, being around as long as you have you ever heard any stories of, like strange lights in the forest or in the sky or anything, strange creatures that nobody could quite figure out, maybe humanish type looking things?
Well, I've not seen any creatures or anything. My brother's infatuated with Bigfoot.
Oh, okay. I've heard a lot of those stories too.
I've never seen one, or I don't really hunt for Bigfoot or read about him.
Sure.
The reason we're here is because a gentleman a few years back emailed us pictures of these footprints and he said that there were these creatures on his property, and he said he lived outside of Hellier. And so
Hellier?
Yeah, Hellier.
I know where Hellier is, surely. At one time it was a real prosperous place, but it died down, and it's just an isolated place.
What happened to make Hellier like that?
Well, they didn't need the products. At one time they mined coal on a large scale. They had coke ovens, just all sorts of things. It was, had a lot of people there. They even, I think maybe they had a movie theater, just a lot of, more modern things than the rest of the county.
Yeah.
And then when all that went bust, and it went out.
Well, it's definitely a really interesting area, the more we learn about it.
Oh, yes, there's some good tales and legends.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to find, but people haven't been terribly forthcoming about a lot of those legends, I think, because we're out-of-towners. It's taken a little while to, they'll say, I've never seen anything strange around here, but once we get them talking, eventually they'll start telling stories about strange stuff, so I don't know, maybe they're just forgetting?
Oh, I've heard some good tales over the years.
I can tell.
Anything is possible here. This is one place where anything is possible.
But this gentleman, he had some stories.
He had tons of stories, none of which he thought were really crazy at first. Kept happening. Nah, really nothing like that. I don't really see any weird stuff. And then he started to launch into other strange stories. And then he said, you know what? I did see a big flying disc with portholes around it one time.
Yeah, I may sound crazy.
No, not at all.
UFOs I've seen.
Nope.
And then
You've seen UFOs?
When I was about 12 or 14 years old, we lived on Newkirk. We were in the yard playing touch football. And there were, probably between 14 and 20 of us in that number. And so finally we just stopped and stood and gawked at it.
What did it look like?
Silver, saucer shape. I thought it had a porthole to it.
Really?
That's pretty interesting. We even heard UFO reports here too. So,
Have you seen something like that more than once? Have you seen something like that more than once?
Over the years, I've seen several things that's odd.
But you've seen more than one UFO.
Yeah.
Really? I mean,
Over the years, yeah.
I'm the only reason I'm responding that way is you sound so calm about it. Like, does that thing happen a lot around here?
No, and I've not seen any for the last 2 or 3 years. Before that, I'd see one every so often.
So you think you might have had a sighting around 3 years ago?
I've had more than one.
And do you feel like that's stopped recently, like it's just gone away?
Well, it's not been here so much as it used to be.
He used to see UFOs quite regularly until about 2 or 3 years ago. That one stuck with me because that seems to have been about when a lot of the activity reports around Hellier ceased.
Yeah, all right.
For sure.
All right. Well, you have a wonderful night, sir. Thank you for talking to us.
Uh-huh.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye,
ya.
Jack. We'll see you. Have a good night.
I don't know. It's constant lead, fail,
Yeah, lead, fail, lead,
lead,
fail.
fail.
Someone gives us a lead, promising, fail. We got footprint pictures. You're never gonna get them.
Which is again this trend that we keep seeing, where we get a lead and we hit a dead end. We get a synchronicity that feels like it's pointing us in a direction and it's a dead end.
I mean,
And that's been part of my frustration with the weekend too, is the idea of, okay, are we just making things connect? Are we
That's what I felt
forcing
this
things
morning,
too
'cause
hard?
I just felt like we were, like, driving to Hellier today, felt like I had the sense that we were just scraping at a normal town and digging up all of its legends and forcing them to connect.
Right.
But then you get back in the stickiness and you see all the pieces come together and you remember all the synchronicities and you're like, the fuck? This story's become a story of synchronicities.
It is.
And that's why it's like, it's that analogy of just like, did we wind up, hoax or not, being put into a place that's a kind of a flap area? Or are we just picking up rocks and looking what's underneath them? And everyone's got stuff under their rock. But regardless, like, there's some mechanism at work here, but it's slippery. I don't know if it's slippery by intention, slippery by season. Maybe it's not a flap area time, so it's like you're here, you're onto it, but like
Maybe
we
it's
can't.
slippery by design, you know? Maybe it's whatever's there pulling strings is doing it on purpose.
They're happening to us.
They're happening. Pointedly, directly, deliberately happening.
Like in a way that suggests not only meaningful, like meaning behind the coincidence, but design,
Interaction.
intelligence.
intelligent.
That night, we're chilling out. We're making plans for the next day of the expedition. We just decided we were going to chill out for the rest of the night and just kind of hang out and recuperate. And as we're sitting there, Rashad, our camera guy, starts looking through the emails and he goes, you know, I think there's a way you could trace an IP address on these emails. And immediately, there was just a flurry. Everyone's grabbing cameras, we're sitting down at the laptop, we're reading instructions on how to trace header, IP addresses. So that's where it came from. So copy that, put it into the Whois. And the first one we punch in into the IP address tracer makes my heart drop. Because it changes everything. It's nowhere near
Where is it?
Ontario.
Ontario, Canada?
This whole time, we're talking to David Christie, who says he's emailing us from Hellier, Kentucky. 30 minutes, give or take, from Hellier. And the IP address says Ajax, Ontario, Canada. So is this finding... This isn't finding ours, right? Because we would have been in Kitchener. I'm immediately sitting there thinking, oh God, it is a hoax. Who do we know from Ajax?
Received from 9-8. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 different IPs.
The weirder part is, that's only like 2 hours from where we were living at the time that we got the email. Dana's freaking out. She's rattling off lists of ghost hunters in the area who don't like her. I'm trying to think of anyone I know in Canada.
Saying IP address, Rogers Cable, Ontario, Ajax, city of Ajax.
Ajax is like, I want to say north of.
Yeah, it's north of Toronto. It's one
North
of those
of
little.
Toronto. Up north a little bit though. I think it's like a smaller town. I know of it. I've never been to it, but I know of it.
And none of the pieces are fitting. It was the weirdest monkey wrench in the entire case.
I got the emails from David while we were in Canada. While we were living in Canada. Remember? Because that's why we couldn't get to Kentucky.
That's why I think that.
Because I couldn't leave the country. Are there slurry mines in Canada? Is there coal
Yeah.
mining in Canada?
Yeah, I mean just.
Are some IPs like protected from this sort of thing? Like if you
I mean, like, can't people use proxy? Doesn't that?
I mean, you can.
And
I mean,
a
the
proxy,
thing
what
right
that-
there said people can spoof it if they want.
And what that will do is create a fake IP so that if someone searches, it's like for downloading shit.
Right.
like VPN kind of.
That's weird.
Right.
That's got me all turned around and nervous now.
Nervous about what?
Like, the implication here is the first email is a hoax.
Well, I mean, we already knew it was. If David was never here.
Or
Yeah,
we knew that David wasn't a real
a real person. Yeah. That
Somebody's
the
lying for
content of it
somebody.
wasn't necessarily.
Yeah, the content wasn't necessarily in question. We just had a potential pseudonym situation. But if the email indeed didn't originate here, we got a whole other issue on our hands that calls into question all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Which I think only makes it weirder
Yeah.
because
We're still
we're
experiencing.
here and we're experiencing. And we're, for all intents and purposes, supposed to be here. Right?
So.
I don't know, guys.
It went so far.
Yeah. That's the thing.
Pictures are, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I can understand writing a story, having fun with that.
Right.
But going to like that extreme seems like psycho.
Yeah.
Pictures is
Right.
psycho. And worrisome.
Yeah.
Especially when locals are here saying like, oh yeah, that's this area.
Yeah.
It's a coal mine. What's up?
That's crazy. I don't know. I don't know what to do. Because now everything's different.
If we're doing it right. Right.
It looks like it. It's pretty simple. You just cut and paste it. I don't know what to do.
We need to talk to like a tech person who can like really just.
Yeah.
Meet Steve.
Steve would be the guy to talk to. And tomorrow's a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't up to
Steve's still awake.
He's still awake?
hit him up.
So Connor calls up Steve, who they've worked with quite a bit. He's a tech whiz. And at this point, it's like 2 a.m. And fortunately, Steve is still awake, and he's like, goblins? Yeah, hit me. Let's go. Let's talk about this.
And it shows all of those headers. But see, the problem is when I put in an IP address, I'm getting like 3 different IPs. I'm getting one out of Canada, then I'm getting one out of LA, and then I'm getting another one out of some other town in California. No, the Washington one was from another one.
Yeah, that's not totally unheard of. What could be happening? When did he send these emails?
2012? Well, the first ones.
So not that long ago. Now, if he's running a VPN through his internet provider or through the browser itself, then his email can show up coming from anywhere. Okay, see what the header is showing you is where these emails have bounced. Okay. So basically, there's a network path that it followed from point A to point B.
Right.
Point A being the origin, point B being you guys. So when he clicks send, it goes off to his internet provider. So there's one server that it hits, then it's going to go to the next server, then the next server, then the next server. It all depends on how the network traffic is flowing at the moment, and then it'll get to you because obviously it's your email address, and that's where the DNS routing data goes to.
So we're talking to Steve, and he's walking us through the whole thing. And he says, well, send me the emails, and I'll check out the headers. So we sent him the emails. It took a while to get to the point where we realized where the originating IP address was. And we're still a little fuzzy on exactly what would happen there.
We were under the impression he's like a 60-year-old man with a family.
Yeah, in like rural Kentucky. And I'm guessing he wouldn't go out of his way to use a browser that would hide his IP address if that was the case.
You would have to be pretty tech savvy to do that.
Now, VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. And essentially what it does is it creates a temporary IP address for your computer while you're browsing the internet or sending emails. So it doesn't relay your computer's actual location and IP address, and essentially has a random scrambler. So whoever is looking up your information when you send them something off your IP address doesn't know exactly what servers your computer is bouncing around, thereby making your life on the internet a little bit more private.
What about if they work for the government?
Or a university? He was a PhD, maybe?
Yes. If you were at a university, you wouldn't use a VPN.
Okay.
A university or government?
Government? University.
Government, definitely.
So what if he's sending them from inside his workspace? There's like there's a whole slew of computers there. That would explain the numbers.
Those IPs would make much more sense.
We're trying to figure out, did this guy use a proxy server maybe? Was he government? What do we make of this? What is going on? And what we're left with is nobody emailed us from Kentucky, as far as we can tell.
By the end of it, the IP addresses could have been nice and could have given us a fairly good idea as to where David was located. But as we looked more and more into it, we realized that it's possible that he is using a VPN, so we have no idea of knowing where he's actually at. In addition, it's pretty clear that these emails are bouncing off of the Yahoo servers in California. There's a few other random locations that they're going around. So we can't say that David is from Kentucky, but we also can't say that he's not from Kentucky.
Like, I'm actually stressed out. I'm actually stressed out. And I was frustrated, but not stressed out.
Yeah, digging through these signatures and these IP addresses is never an easy screw with these guys. It seems pretty elaborate.
That's been the theme of the whole
Wait
trip.
until tomorrow, Steve. Then you'll be thinking it's not that elaborate. It's probably a con.
Yeah, it's
and
kinda
then
back
wait
and
another
forth.
5 hours,
Yeah.
and then you'll think it's
You'll
pretty
be in our
elaborate.
world then.
Well, it's too late. Now he is in
Yeah.
our world.
Yeah. Watch for synchronicities, bud.
Well, thank you so much for your late night help, Steve. We'll
Hey, no problem.
keep in touch with whatever else comes up, and
Thank you
That's right.
so much, man.
Hey, yeah, anytime, guys. Anytime.
very cool. All right. Well, we'll continue this weirdness.
If you don't hear from these guys in like 4 or 5 days, send help.
Okay, you got it.
Alright. See ya.
Sure. We will. Good night.
What the fuck is happening? And that was the highest emotional peak so far for me, because I was getting actually upset, like legitimately upset. Like when I thought that was coming from fucking an hour and a half away from us, I was fucking upset, because then it felt more like a violation than anything else.
The whole David and Terry thing is a point of frustration.
Yeah.
And it has been for a few years now.
Yeah.
Were you pretty much at the point, and are you there now, where you're just ready to just forget about it and realize that you were called to that place? Or what are you gonna do if you get an email from one of them?
I feel like David and Terry at this point, no contact from either of them in years. The emails are deliberately shut down. No point of contact. David is a ghost. No records of him in the town at all, anywhere. Terry, even less, because it's a pseudonym. There's no way to contact that person. At least with David, there was a name. You know, we could look in phone books. We could look through records. Terry is impossible, unless Alan Greenfield gives up who he actually is, which I highly doubt he's going to do. We're stuck. But after being to Hellier twice and conducting a pretty thorough exploration of the town and the legends surrounding the town, they're not even really the important part anymore. They were just the way we got there. The important part now is what is happening in Hellier. What is happening in Pike County? What is happening in the Appalachians? Because this seems to be a rash of stuff. One of the things that Terry said was, the door is closed, the window is open. And I keep thinking about that. I keep running that through my head. Because on some level, it feels like we missed whatever happened in Hellier. And that feels like a door has closed. And maybe the door has closed on Terry. Maybe the door has closed on David. But there is still stuff happening. So David and Terry, you know, maybe they're not important anymore. Maybe that's not the part we're supposed to be focusing on. So we found an old, very old train tunnel. We were actually pointed to by Joey, and it was only used for about 10, 15 years before they shut it down because it was so unsafe. It had caves connected to it. It went into the hills, it went into the mountains. And considering that all of these phenomena were somehow connected to cave systems, to openings in the earth. It felt very important that that's where we go to finish this off. It looked the most promising. It was abandoned and forgotten. A perfect place that's something that doesn't want to be seen would hide. The hike into the tunnel was really tough. It was middle of nowhere, and it was overgrown. I mean, it was pretty obvious that it wasn't a place that people went to a lot. It was actually even hard to find on a map. The only way we were able to find it is because this random guy had given us perfect GPS coordinates to it.
And it's a tough trek. Greg is sitting in the back of the group, and I can hear him cheering us along.
We're getting really, really close. 85% there.
It was a weird feeling hiking through this grass, this tall grass that's above your head. And the only thing you can really see is like the person in front of you. And you're just going forever.
Dana is a little bit freaked out. She's standing right behind me. She keeps asking me, she's like, "You see it yet, Connor? You see it yet?" In between all of the mud and everything. And it just went on and on and on.
There's this moment where you're like feeling as if you're never gonna get there. And I could hear Connor in front of me say, "I can see it. I can see the entrance to the cave."
And then suddenly, through the 10-foot weeds, I see it. I see this huge arching tunnel. Just enormous, just huge, just out there, alone.
Holy fucking shit.
It's uneven, but it's flat. So close.
Shit. Wow. Look at that.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Well,
For me, it felt like I faced some kind of fear. Like I actually felt, by the time we got to the cave, I was like, oh, like I felt empowered almost. I felt good about getting through it. Like, you know, I had faced a fear and we were there.
It looked like a giant mine shaft. The walls were 30 feet high to the ceiling, and it was clear no one had spent much time there in a long time.
No, baby, you gotta do it this way.
got it.
Shit, really wet. Keep dripping on it. Shit. It's so big, it doesn't feel like you're inside of something like that. Oh, man.
Dude, this goes for a mile. This goes for a mile, just like this. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's remnants of the old train tunnel. The old coal trains used to run right through here.
I mean, that's why it's strange, because if it clearly wasn't a place people were spending a lot of time. There was no graffiti. There was nothing on the walls. Anywhere that kids hang out or people go to party, you know, there would be stuff scratched in walls or graffiti. It's completely devoid. I didn't see anywhere. It was abandoned. It was forgotten. There were super old wooden support beams, and they had come crumbling down, and you could see just the bare rock where they had chiseled their way into this mountain. It was unsettling. It was there was no echo. I expected there to be echo. I've spent time in caves. I've spent time in caverns and domes, and I just assumed, you know, we're gonna start doing calls in here to whatever's there. We're gonna speak to it. No echo in this place at all. It was unsettling. It felt slightly unnatural.
As we start to walk in, we see something.
Shut the
Oh,
It's a tin can.
and it's a tin can. Just like the one that I saw. I just saw like a tin can. Just dropped into my mind. Like an old tin can. No label. Why is this here? You know?
I know.
It's old too, isn't it?
Yeah, there's like.
At this point, I'm a little bit almost upset, because it felt like I don't know, like some other force had led us to this, and I didn't know if we should be following along to whatever this thing wanted us to be following along to. Who put that can there? Why was it there? It didn't make sense. And yet it all made sense, because that's where we were supposed to be. Is this plastic? I mean, the look itself is enough for me.
Right.
But that's the only way I could think to describe it, like a soup
Did you
can.
hit it
with a
with
label.
anything?
Yeah, find it. I mean, it's not like
No, it's metal. It's a metal can. It's metal.
Oh, this is a little.
Like just sitting here
Weird.
waiting for us, right?
like if you're cold,
And I look at it, and I see the details that I saw in my mind 2 nights earlier. And it's really difficult to describe sort of what that is like. I don't know. It's like, imagine having like a really strong deja vu. Except it's like a waking dream, and it just happened to you. And you see these things start to happen in your life, and you don't know what it means. And then suddenly 2 days later, you see exactly the same thing sitting there at an abandoned train tunnel. I mean, it's fascinating, and I think we're on the right track. I think it's not a bad thing. It's not like I feel uncomfortable.
but it's startling.
Yeah. People come down here and like, you know, whatever. Like people loiter, people, what is this, you know?
Yeah.
It could be premonitory.
Might not be a message from them so much as you tapped in the same way you did doing a GAN spell.
Yeah.
Decided Point Pleasant.
Almost in a way validating more of that experiment.
Yeah.
You know,
like
not
you're just tapping into
necessarily-
that space
yeah.
where you know where we're going to be in 2 or 3 days.
A little sliver of like the future kind of popped into your mind.
Where they're unrelated except by synchronicity.
Exactly.
That was weird. And I can't get it out of my head now. And I know that if I was watching this, I'd be like, well, I don't know. I don't know what I'd think. I don't know what to think anymore myself, but that's what I saw is that tin can in my mind. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know where it came from or why. But that's the one that I saw.
It feels strange to read too far into a tin can, but knowing how that factored into the entire investigation, knowing that Connor had seen this thing in his head and was even nervous to have spoken about it because it was so odd, and seeing Connor's reaction to seeing this thing sitting there had us all a little unsettled.
Once you crossed over into the areas where the top part, the ceiling of the tunnel had caved in, it felt like you were in the shit then. And this tin can is sort of sitting there marking this very, very specific spot. So that was huge. I mean, that's so random, and like there's no way to. Connor was doing a ghost box session and saw a tin can in his head, and then we found a tin can marking this specific spot right where we entered into a space that was very much not a space that was ours. That's a hugely symbolic thing, and I think goes beyond just random coincidence. It marked the spot where we entered into something else's space, some other reality space, and that for me was like the moment. I mean, of all of the moments that we had that were strange, that was the most unbelievable and validating and strange.
It was significant. It was one of those signposts that appeared that let us know we were on the right path and to pay attention to what was about to happen.
Tonight